Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network.
Welcome to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. This podcast is hard-hitting, in-depth, cutting-edge look into the sport of bowling. You will get unfettered access into the mind of one of the most gifted bowlers of this generation, who just happens to be the son of a living legend. So, without further ado, let's introduce you to the host of the show, Rad Rob Francois, Dr. Ocho, and the incomparable Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Hey guys, welcome back to Straight Up 5. This is episode number 10. I am your host, Rad Rob Francois. I hope everybody's doing well all around the world, and thank you for being here. We have a very, very special guest on this week. It's something I've been looking forward to for a long time. It's kind of a bucket list thing, being a bowler for the last 40 years.
I'm here every week. What are you talking about? You're very excited. Every week I'm here.
So last week, you got pissed off because I didn't intro you. And so now you're just going to hijack my opening. That's great. No, that's awesome.
Go ahead, buddy.
Well, you've heard it. Dr. Ocho's here. Tell everybody how you're doing, Och.
I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad I made your night, honestly. Like, I know I make your night when we do the other show and this show, but it's about time I heard it just because of how much I mean to you and this community.
Right on, brother. We also have the other host of the show, the sexiest man alive. The most jacked guy in the sport of bowling. Well, look at that smile. God, look at that smile. He's such a good-looking guy. Johnny Sr.
He's blushing.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. It's Johnny Petraglia Jr., JP Jr. Good to see you, buddy.
Always a pleasure to see you, Rad Rob. And my life coach, as always, Dr. Ocho. And accompanied by our very, very special guest today, am I leading with this one? Or am I going to turn
You can. I mean, go for it. It's your show.
I'd rather hear your
Call him by the right name.
Special
Introducing our special guest, hailing from New Jersey. He is a PBA Hall of Famer. He threw the seventh 300 game in PBA history on ABC. He is a living legend. He is the godfather. Father of the sexiest man alive.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnny Petraglia Sr., JP Sr., it is so good to have you here. I've been looking forward to talking to you for quite a while. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Rob. It's my pleasure to be here.
You're looking good. You're looking trim. What are you doing nowadays to keep yourself in shape?
I'm still working for Brunswick, and I'm bowling a lot and playing golf a lot. And so the three put together keeps me pretty busy. I got a busy schedule coming up starting tomorrow. I'll be on the road a lot starting tomorrow for about the next 10 or 11 days. So.
Wow. Still going strong. I'm telling you. Junior, I hope you got that longevity there, brother.
So do I, Rob. I tell you the truth. I don't know how – I think about how my body feels after I drive for 3 hours somewhere.
Right.
I couldn't imagine driving for 4 days and then bowling 40 games when I'm 70.
Yeah, for sure. Junior told us you bowled very well in your last outing in a tournament, almost making the finals. Congratulations on that.
Only two lefties made the top 32 in Jackson, Michigan. I was one of the two, and I was actually high lefty in the tournament, and so it was a good week. And it's nice to get out there, bowl a tournament, and then to have a good week on top of it. That was fun.
Now, Junior said that he's trying to get you back into throwing urethane, something you did, probably 20, 30 years ago. You said you're a little bit hesitant into getting back into the urethane.
I am. But I threw nothing but urethane in Jackson, Michigan. I had two urethane bowling balls, and those are the only two balls I used all week. So when it applies, the balls work fine. I've been a little resistant, but I'm coming around, and they both worked better than anything else I had that week, and obviously whatever the other lefties were throwing. So it was the right equipment at the right time.
That's almost the old tournament feel too, right? Walking in with only 2 balls instead of like 17, like some of these guys have. It's the stuff you used to talk about when I was teaching you about bowling years ago. That you don't only have the 2, 1 or 2 balls drilled up. You'd have to change your hand position instead, and make the ball do some of the work. Let the athlete show its skill rather than the ball doing everything. So it's good. And as a matter of fact, that's why you always did good in those plastic ball tournaments. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I did well in the plastic ball tournaments because still old school. The first move is not to change bowling balls for me. I know it should be the way it is for all the young guys today, but that's sort of like the third move. The first one is hand position and lane position. The first couple of moves, and then when all else fails, then I go to changing bowling balls. Where if you're growing up in today's environment, the first move is to change a bowling ball. That's very hard for me to do. I can do a better job changing myself physically before I switch bowling balls.
And that's
I already got the chills. Holy shit!
That's what we were talking about last week, right? Like Ocho's first move when he threw 2 flat shots is to change his ball and just.
It was one time. I know how to teach. I know how to coach. Yeah. That was just a one-time incident. I'm better now.
Oh, well, can I say something about Dr. Ocho here?
Sure, go ahead.
By all means.
I'm watching
you need
Dr.
to let the
Ocho
people know how important I was.
Yeah, we're bowling in the league, and, he just kept throwing every ball through the nose, so I told him to move 4 and 2 left, and he said, 4 and 2 what?
I said, that means 6. What does that even mean?
Yeah. Having to explain that we were discussing boards on the lane, we had to start from scratch. So I guess he's made great progress since then.
Yes.
It was knowledge that I love to hear about. That's when I first learned of what was called a break point, and I thought it was something on my car. Again, and I'm a life coach. I'm not just a bowling coach here. So it was very informative. I have yet to apply it, but I'm still now at least understanding what the mechanics were.
I want to elaborate
how much your natural ability is there.
Well, that's true. No, that is true.
Look, it's what can Ocho do?
That's right. Yeah. Junior, you're going to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to elaborate on Dad with the urethane, because another thing that goes unnoticed about when my dad bowls is, like, Dad always bowls well. Like, when the lefties bowl well, Dad always bowls well. But when the lefties don't bowl well, okay, fine. There's going to be times that the lefties just don't bowl well, period. But there are always it always seems like when my dad bowls and he is striking when the other lefties aren't, he strikes a lot more. Like, I've watched him lead tournaments playing an arrow that most lefties don't know how to play,
right,
by hundreds and hundreds of pins. And, like, when he says to me that he was one of the only 2 cashing lefties in that event throwing urethane, that also tells me that resin was probably not the play that week. And a lot of other guys tried to do it. So I always feel like that's always been one of his tricks, is that because he's comfortable and he's consistent and he knows how to repeat, especially when he's in a groove, and likes to do things that are outside the normal elements and realm of a left-handed bowler to begin with, I think it's one of the reasons why urethane worked that week, is because I think you also maybe recognize that nothing was working for anybody else. So, like, what harm could it do to try this?
That's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in a normal sense, he'd jump way right and flip it wide, which the other lefties couldn't do, and that would work at those other times when no lefty could do anything. And then you find the time when you're, what's the word, walled out. I'm learning this stuff too here, guys.
Well, I've always been more comfortable playing inside than outside. I had to learn how to bowl outside. I'm comfortable playing in. So one of the things that happens is when I can't really find anything, my first move is always moving in, not moving out, because I have much more confidence when I move in. I've done my best bowling from in. At one time, I had 7 senior records on tour, and none of them were outside of 15. They were all 15 or deeper, because that's my favorite place on the lane to be. But being left-handed, you don't get too many chances to play in there, because you have to cross the track, and that creates problems.
Yeah.
Dad,
Cross the track. Oh, I'm sorry, JP Jr. Cross the track. So break that down just for some amateurs here. So
okay, so 90% of the field is right-handed, and the track is usually between 10 and 15, and maybe a little bit deeper. And so when the right-handers are moving in, they're catching the track further down the lane
and putting the oil downwards, I guess.
It actually becomes almost a little bit of a hollow in the old days, I guess you could say. But what would happen is that if you're right-handed and you're starting to go high, you keep moving left, you keep moving in to catch the track later and later and later, and it'll always work for you. So now when you're left-handed and you're way in, you're going to have to cross over that track, and there's nothing to throw it to. You're not trying to catch a track further down. You're trying to just find a place to play. So it makes it different on the left side playing in. The left side of the lane is always more pristine than the right side. So lefties don't have trouble getting the ball through the heads most of the time, and you can and when you're moving way in, a lot of times the ball still wants to hook early. But if you can get that ball down lane, for me it seems easier the way that I was taught, that the pocket's right in front of me. I'm looking at it, 15, 20. If I'm playing that deep, it feels very, very comfortable. When I'm out around 3, 4, 5, the pockets to my right, my spots to the left, it just doesn't coordinate correctly. I just don't feel comfortable out there the way that I do when I'm in.
The question I wanted to ask you, Dad, that I'm curious seemingly when and why that changed. And what I mean by that is, like, I obviously watch all the old school videos. I watched the wins in the 70s when right to left didn't exist. Right to left, right? Yeah. When it didn't really exist. Yeah. And I see a lot of your tournament wins, playing the gutter, firm speed. And then I remember watching a show, I want to say maybe 1992 or 3, where you actually made the show at Bradley Bowl, Rob's home center in Windsor. Yeah. And you lost to Dave Arnold, and you were curving a purple urethane rhino pretty good. And then a couple years later, it's 94, and now you're like inside of 15.
Yeah.
Did, in your eyes, like I always say that Walter Ray has always been one of the best, but resin magnified Walter Ray. For me, I feel like your migration in is also partially residue of the fact that the balls allowed for it. And did you always want to play in, but you just couldn't back then, and then the technology allowed it, so it made it more comfortable for you?
Yes, I always wanted to play in, but you were almost never allowed to. My very first show, I'm playing 15. I'm not, all the way back, and when I was just out of the Army, and the shot was very, very tough. The shot on the left was in, and I made my first show that week. I was the only lefty on the show. I felt completely comfortable that I had a chance to play way in. But most of the time, I'm playing out. You're trying to stay away from the right-hander's lay-down point. That's the big thing, and that's what these are trying to do. They got to get the ball through the front half of the lane without much of a problem. So what's changed in years is that as the right-handers keep moving in, then no matter how deep you get, how far out you get, you're always putting the ball down in the right-hander's lay-down point. And if they're using a lot of surface, They're burning up your lay down point, not intentionally, but that's just where they want to play. You're watching Belmonte or two-handers or people like that, that are putting the ball down on, let's say 35, and even if you're trying to lay the ball down on 7, 8, 9, they're still burning up your head area, and you're starting to get early hook, and you've got to figure out how to compensate that. So what seems to have worked on the left side is you look at Buttriff, throwing constantly urethane and ripping the cover off the ball, and he gets the ball through the front. The same with oh God, I forgot his name. The other two-hander that Jesper, part of it. Yeah, Jesper, and then you get somebody like Ryan Simonelli who can do that with speed. All of them have different ways to be able to get the ball through the front and not have the right-handers that have moved way in affecting the game. It's a changing game, and now with two-handers, it's going to change completely. From 10 years from now, I don't know, 75% of the field is going to be bowling two hands because of our scholarship leagues. All we have to do is look at that. Mm-hmm. Parker and I have a scholarship league, and all of the kids that are starting, the 9, 10, 11-year-olds, they're all two-handers. You could see what's coming in the future. I don't know about the women, but the men, it's going to really dominate when the time comes. Unless you're like a Chris Prather that can get so much on the ball anyway with just one hand and cover the whole lane. That the real exceptions are Francois, that absolutely amazing that he can compete with the two-handers and the electric wrists that are out there, and with your basic classic game the way it used to be. And it's tremendous talent to be able to do that.
Now, were you opposed to that style when you first saw Belmonte bring it in? I mean, did you say, like, what the hell is this guy doing?
No, not really. I was actually excited to watch. He and I bowled a doubles tournament in Las Vegas together, when he first started coming to the U.S., and it was exciting to watch him bowl. And when they bring up the point of should two-handers be allowed? Well, the mistake was probably made, over 100 years ago, and in 1895 when they set down the rules to have the first ABC tournament in 1901. You couldn't, if you bowled right-handed, you had to bowl right-handed. If you bowled left-handed, you had to bowl left-handed the whole way. Mm-hmm. I guess not to defend them. It's like, well, if you can't bowl right-handed and you can't switch to left-handed, you obviously can't bowl with two hands. Right. You would think that would automatically apply, but it didn't. So what are you going to do now? Somebody is bowling that way, which is legal for 25 years, 30 years, and you're going to say you can't do this anymore? If it didn't work for Belmonte, then two-handers would have never come along. The reason everything changed is because Jason did the tour, so everybody's following suit. And so now you've got Kyle Troop, Anthony Simonson, and a bunch of others that are tremendous talents, and they're going to pretty much dominate the tour for quite a while.
Did you think your son was crazy when he was taking his thumb out of the ball 20 years ago?
That's really hard to say, but Mike Miller was a journeyman pro. He was a good bowler, but he never, was like a superstar or anything. And he took his thumb out of the ball, and he won a major. He became the only brother-sister to win majors, him and his sister. And I think that had people trying it, and then John was very good at it, is very good at it. The only thing is, does it really affect your forearm, and is it hard to, without creating injuries? You're going to pull muscles and tendons and stuff, but it doesn't seem to bother him when he does it. He's just as accurate, that's for sure, and he throws more ball. It'd be it would have been a lot better if he was right-handed, actually, with the game that he's got with no thumb. I think he would actually been a better bowler with no thumb, with the amount of ball that he can throw. But that's the way things go. What can you do?
Right.
Given the mechanics of like you said, the wristers, right? They have to unleash. That almost looks like it's more injury prone than not having your thumb in the ball, because at least as you're cupped, you're still supported. Whereas when these guys uncoil, like almost like flicking a yo-yo, it looks like the way they with a 15 or 16 pound bowling ball. I'm surprised, again, mechanically, hence being a smart guy like Dr. Ocho is. How are there not many more wrist injuries? Or maybe we just don't hear about them because we don't really hear the bowling news that much. But
I think that has a lot to do with it, Doc. It's that if somebody that's hardly ever making TV has a wrist injury, you
never hear about it.
You never hear about it. You have, if Belmonte has a wrist injury, or if Kyle Troop has a wrist injury, if Anthony Simonson has a wrist injury, you're going to know about it right away. No doubt about it. It's like all other sports. Mike Trout gets a calf injury, and the whole world knows about
everybody
it.
Knows. Minor leaguers freaking do something.
The minor leaguers, nobody cares. Yeah, exactly.
But Dr. Ocho gets an injury, people are worried like anything. The whole world stops.
The whole world stops. Yeah.
I get a SportsCenter bulletin on my phone whenever something happens to Dr. Ocho. But we're going to wrap up this first segment. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we have a real treat for you guys. We're going to be doing a watch-along of Johnny Sr.'s 300 game that he threw on ABC. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's time to watch the 300 game, the seventh 300 game. We'll be right back.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Straight Up 5.
Welcome back to the second segment of the show. It is time to get the perspective from the man who lived it. The 300 game that Johnny Sr. threw on ABC with his forest green quantum, which, sir, I still own one. I still have it. I showed it to your kid a few months ago. I still throw a Tino Round Pro and my forest green quantum and a slot monster that Johnny hates.
Can I say something before you start the video?
Sure.
Is that okay? One thing that has to be made, our player rep at that time was Ray Edwards from Brunswick. Mm-hmm. And we're bowling a practice session of that tournament. It's a major, so it's 56 games. It's a lot of games. And we're bowling the practice session, and then Ray hands me the forest green quantum, with a 9-inch hole back there from your grip around, that really made it hook even more. And as I throw it in practice, I said, Ray, where am I ever going to use this ball? I got so much hook, I can't control it. And he said, just leave it in your bowling bag, make it part of your arsenal, because you never know when it's going to work. And then on show day, when I made the show, I had been using a Purple Rhino Pro all week. And something happened on TV. 10 minutes before airtime, the oil carried down, the lights affected it. We're not really sure, but everybody's ball started going straighter and straighter and straighter. It couldn't even hit the head pin. And Ray says to me, where is the forest green quantum? And I said, it's in the locker room. Now we're on 27-8, and the locker room's behind 59-60. And Ray runs down to the locker room, grabs the bowling ball, comes running back, hands me the ball. And that's when the tournament director says, because I'm in the first match, you have one shot on each lane, gentlemen, and I get to throw a ball on the left-hand lane, and Ray tells me, move in, stand on about 40 with your feet, look at 20, let me watch it go down the lane. And he asked me to adjust a little bit on the right lane, and he said I would start there. So the first game against Eric Forkel, that's where I'm playing and making little adjustments, and I end up shooting 230 the first game while Eric bowled a 180. and now we get into the second game with the 300. So it's important to make everybody know that if Ray Edwards isn't there, I bowl 190 like everybody else. Okay, so
you should tell them what just happened with Ray after 40 years of service.
Oh, well, Ray just retired. After 40 years with Brunswick, Ray just retired the other day. And, I wish him all the best.
Ironic for this freaking segment. Holy
really?
shit,
Who
man.
knew
This
that?
is what we bring in Straight Up 5,
That's
man.
right.
You don't
That's
get
right.
this shit anywhere else. God dang it.
That's a fascinating
Dr.
story.
Ocho and Rad Rob bringing Johnny Petraglia.
That's right. Bringing the thunder. That's
I'm the life coach.
That's a really cool story. Had you ever told that publicly before?
I've told a few people. Yeah. Obviously, everybody at Brunswick knows it.
Right.
But more people should know how important. Now Ray, all these other years, he worked in R&D. He's the one with Bill Wasserberger. Ray had Ray graduated with a major in physics and a minor in chemistry. Wasserberger was the opposite, a major in chemistry, a minor in physics. They put the two of them together, and that's where all the formulas for the weight blocks and the covers come up with. And now that we've, we own the 7 companies, Ray is retired. Bill Wasserberger unfortunately passed away. So we have Bill Olakowski and the folks from Ebonite that have come into Muskegon and come together. So, and we also have years of Mo Pennell's blocks and things that he's come up with, and which I incidentally on Friday have to go to Mo's memorial in Pennsylvania. Brilliant guy. Yeah, a little crazy, but brilliant. No doubt about it.
I mean, it's true. I mean, I've always been a Brunswick guy my entire bowling life as far back as I remember. So, like when that Forest Green Quantum came out, Bradley Bowl was my home center. I went into JR's Pro Shop and paid $205 for that ball, and it completely changed my game. So much so that I still love it and still use it today. I don't even care if it's 25 years old or whatever. I still love that ball.
Yeah, Bradley Bowl, one of my favorite places to bowl. Bradley Bowl.
Yeah, I grew up there. My mom worked there, so I loved Red. Unfortunately, Red's no longer with us, but great guy, great center. I missed the days when ABC used to come and pack the house and put up the bleachers and watch the TV show. I'd clean the telescores during the week. When they used to use the plastic sheets to keep score on and all that. I was in the back spraying those and cleaning them off as a kid. So. Lots of good memories back at Bradley Bowl. So let me cue up the video here.
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to getting into this. So let me pull it up. Oh, that's not how I want to do it. Nope, okay. Hang on. No. Oh, wait.
Ocho doesn't pay for bowling balls, by the way.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Ocho never has, never will, doesn't have to, even though I'm using outdated stuff
there
too.
We go.
I don't mind. It's free. It's for Ocho.
I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit so we can get your commentary here. But, this is a real treat. So let's hit play on this and let's go.
Right now, player of the year.
Okay, so now we're going to watch the whole game here?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
That's that. Okay, so this is pretty good because I'm bowling Walter Ray, and now I'm lined up on the pair, and the my first thought is that I can't make a mistake because Walter's not going to make a mistake. He's the best in the world, and so I'm gonna have to bowl a really good game, and numbers are in my head right from the beginning. And Walter started with a strike, okay, and
look at that ball hook. Look at that hook.
I know where I'm playing, but I handling like you can't make any mistakes. Every shot's going to have to be perfect because Walter's going to bowl at least 250.
And much like a golfer, you're already thinking the number, even on the first frame.
I'm thinking the number that Walter's going to bowl and what I'm going to need. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
it's very rare that I think about who I'm bowling against and what I'm going to have to do. And but in this situation, it's Walter was bowling so tremendous year after year after year that you need a big game. And what happens right here is Walter Ray loses it at the bottom, just a shade, so that the ball hangs,
Yep.
and he leaves the left-hander's baby split. You always saw Walter get the ball over the line. If you watch the replay, you'll notice that the ball lays a little bit short, so it doesn't finish.
Yep.
And Walter never did that. It just happened to happen on that particular shot. And so now he's shooting at the lefty baby split, and he doesn't get the ball over far enough. And I'm amazed, and I'm going, oh my God, this is incredible. That now the best Walter can do is bowl 268.
Right, you're 260s now. You're thinking you got to bowl 250 just to be.
I'm thinking that Walter's going to leave one ring in 10, which gives him 247. So right now my number is 248. That's the number that I got in my head right away.
Did that make you feel more at ease? Obviously when he left that open.
Oh yeah, I couldn't believe my luck. I said,
right.
Wow, even if he strikes out, he can bowl 268. If he gets one rap, it's only 247.
Yeah.
So I feel,
and you were lined up too,
I'm lined up. I feel better already.
Yeah.
Now I'm at my favorite spot on the lane. I'm completely comfortable, and things are going really good about now in my head.
And you're burying the shot too. So I mean, there's.
Yeah, it was. It just the first game, the 230 that I bowled, and the little adjustments that I was making really helped a lot.
Ocho won $10,000 on Louisville that day, by the way.
Okay. And this one, I'm pretty sure this is the one that I hit light, and normally you didn't get away with light hits there, but it hit in the right spot to blow the rack. So, okay, I'm clean here, so I'm in the 220s. Yep. This is good, and then they cut away the commercial, and that's normally not, like you said, you have to do it with Walter Ray. So yeah,
can that get in your head a little bit? Because they always say I got to bowl 12 good shots. Is there 12?
Well, it can. Yeah, and normally I never thought about who I was bowling against, and then he goes up and leaves that solid 10, and when he leaves the solid 10, it was wow. My solid 10 that I was looking for it came up early. I didn't know how many in a row he was going to throw before he would leave a solid 10.
Yeah.
And he got it right away. And so now, his max is 248. And, I'm 2 strikes away from being in the 240s. It doesn't matter who you're bowling.
Right.
And mathematically you can only bowl a certain score.
You had mentioned that the lanes got squirrely in practice. Is this affecting him because he's throwing a little bit of almost a rollout towards the end?
That's it. Is that the lanes, the way that he was playing them originally, and the lanes got tighter. He was moving a little bit. He's
walking himself in a little bit, trying to stay in the oil rather than it dying with nothing at the end. It looks like Ocho knows this shit, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, he had that one ball that he laid short and that hit light, and the others were all strikes. He was doing fine. I'm still assuming he's going to shoot the same score.
Right.
But now I'm in the 230s, and if I can stay clean, I'm in the 230s, which means he's got to go off the sheet. And so you start feeling confident now because mathematics come into it. There's, he can only bowl what he can bowl, no matter how great he is. And then that's what I'm thinking here. The last thing, by the way, that I'm thinking about right now is 300. Okay,
right.
You're thinking about advancing, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about beating Walter. And now I throw that 6th one, and I'm in the 240s, which means if I mark out, he's got to strike out.
Right. Were you always that cerebral when you bowled? Just mathematics and breaking it down?
Not all the time.
Okay.
Most of the time it was against other opponents. It just sort of happened, and like if you saw that shot right there, that Walter threw, he just about got the ring in 10 out because the ball wasn't finishing really hard. It's still, but you're still looking at, okay, he can bowl 248.
Yeah.
And
are you thinking he's going to make a ball change maybe just for something desperate at this
No, I'm
point,
not even. I'm not even thinking of that. So, not at all. I'm just thinking about what he's going to do, and this was the miracle. He throws the ball through the nose. I said, "Are you kidding?" Now he's at 226, and for me, the game is over.
You've seen that once in like 10 years, basically.
Yeah, really.
I was very, very surprised, and and now he can bowl 226, all I got to do is bowl decent, and
Right.
then just stay clean, and I'm very confident at this point about winning the game. I'm not even thinking about that anymore. And actually, at this point here, I'm not thinking about 300. I'm still thinking about winning.
Yeah.
And the first time that 300 comes into my head is when I get the 8th one, because then I'm going to get up for the 9th and 10th, and when you get that far down the line, now you start thinking about it.
These are so pure, though. Even that mixer was such a heavy hit, man. These are just blasting the freaking rack.
It's the ball. That ball is amazing.
Yeah,
no, it's not the athlete. Yeah, it's only the ball. Good
No,
job,
but I'm saying, like,
Senior. Your 300 meant shit because it's only the bowling ball. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
Great job.
Thanks, Ocho.
But it's just everything was just going good, and so now all of a sudden I'm starting to think about it, and what had happened was the night before on dinner with Larry Lickstein, and that I had made the show, and we're talking about the show, and however the subject came up, we started talking about, what first plays this and stuff. And I said, my kids are 9 and 3. And, we're talking to the accountant about college. And he's explaining that, if your son goes to, he says, let's just say it's a medium college with no scholarship. He said that it's going to cost, $168,000. I might have it backwards. $168,000 for one of your kids and $127,000 for the other. And I'm looking at Lickstein and I'm going, $300,000. Where are you going to get the money to put somebody through to college unless they're getting some kind of big scholarship? And Lickstein says, well, a good start would be if you bowl 300 on the show tomorrow, and we both laughed about that. And Larry was, sitting there, right on the side as I get up to bowl the 10th frame, and right about now it hits me. I looked at Larry's face. He doesn't even know that I looked at him, but I sort of looked at his face as I got up in the 10th, and I said to myself, not to Larry, I said, 3 shots to college. All of a sudden, things are going through my head. Like, if we set up 2 accounts right now,
is any of it bowling at this point? You're literally playing.
10, 15 years from now, the money should be enough to put them through college. And that one was lucky, because when you hit there in this house, you always left a flat 7.
Yeah.
And the ball cut the 7 pin out, which that really helped me a lot, saying, that hit wasn't supposed to strike, and it did. Things are, it doesn't get much better than this.
Rob, can you pause the show real quick? Can you pause?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we need a quick recap here. So he's got the front 9,
Front 10 now,
Front
yeah.
10,
Well, but before that, you're telling a story that you're now thinking and you're calculating interest about how much the 300 would be, instead of, man, I got to hit my shot. So 8 frames prior, he's like, I got to be dialed in. Walter's going to shoot 250. I got to shoot 260.
They're like, what am I going to do with that?
Wow.
Man,
That's something else crazy. While he's telling us this story.
Yeah. Now everybody knows how much of a whack I am. Okay.
Well, if they play the post freaking interview, everybody's going to know anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So before we get into, like, what do you are you nervous at this point? Like, how was your composure?
I was okay. I wasn't, and I'll explain why. In 17 years prior to that, in Garden City, I was bowling Mark Roth, and you're prepared for pressure. You always are. And Andy Verapapa was my coach, and I've got the first 11 against Mark, and if I can strike on the last shot, at that time it was $10,000 and a new car if you shot 300. And when I got up at the last shot, I was very, very nervous. I wasn't expecting the amount of pressure that was there. And with Andy sitting directly behind me, threw the ball through the nose. I made a terrible shot, got an 8 count. And I felt, well, I lost $10,000. I lost the car. And my coach watched me choke. I felt really bad about that. But what happened here was that as I was getting up for this shot, about all the other things that are going through my head, one of them was, if you throw this strike, be ready for the amount of pressure that's going to come. I knew what it was going to feel like this time, which was a tremendous help. And the other help was that I'm playing way in instead of way out like I was in Long Island.
Right.
So there's no threat of making a terrible shot and throwing it in the gutter or anything like that. And I'm in my favorite spot of the lane, it felt like just clear the thumb and it's going to get to the pocket, and then you leave it up to God, whether you strike or not.
Right. All right, here we go.
Now this one, this could have been a solid 8. That headpin did a great job,
This shot almost gave Mom a heart attack.
Oh,
Oh, that's the kicker. That's right.
almost gave him a heart attack too. Down on your knees after every shot. Now, I mean, you're really feeling it.
Elmer Fudd thing where the money bags are floating away if that 8-pin stays up.
Yeah,
and this was I guess the lucky thing about me back then was the more pressure that I would be under, the more my knee would drop. I would get lower to the ground, which helps your game.
Yeah,
and so I sat really low on this shot and trusted it, and
dude.
And that's why Larry comes running over, because I know that he's thinking about he's thinking about the dinner the night before.
Yeah.
And then it was just great. Larry was really hysterical.
He was.
And Ray Edwards comes into the picture here. I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah, a big curly-haired guy.
Yeah.
There he is.
Hugging you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ray was there, and also Branham and I and Curtis Odom. Curtis Odom was doing all the replay. It just was one of those weeks where the guys that I was hanging out with a lot that week happened to be there for the show. I know Randy Peterson felt very bad about not being there for this, and it was just one of those special moments. And then the good thing that happened was Darryl Ducat, the owner of the center, after I got the 11th one, he called somebody over to call the guy in the back and said, if Johnny throws this 12th strike, take the 10 pins out. And right after the strike, he took him out, and he gave me the 10 pins after the show was over. And John will show you one of them. What had happened was I said, there's people that deserve this.
Awesome.
Put the 10 pins that trophies made, and obviously 3 of them were going to go to my wife, my daughter, and my son, and the other 7 were to people that made the 300 happen. Ray Edwards and Darryl Ducat and John Laspina, because of where I grew up bowling, I was able to practice. And actually, Schenkel had passed away right after that, and Burton, who called the 300 game, and in any event, 7 other people got the pins that we had made into a trophy, and so John still got his, which that's important to me. I think, thankfully, he still has it. And
banging shirt.
And both of the kids graduated college. That's the other thing.
That's the craziest part. I can't believe my sister graduated.
Oh, that's where we're going, because again, we still didn't replay the post interview where Johnny P Sr. is beyond. He can't catch his breath. He's trying to, and this is a pro. He's been in front of the camera so many times. He's talking about building sheds and getting hammers from True Value Hardware. And this was the greatest post-game freaking interview I ever saw. It was beautiful. And
it was genuine.
Yeah. Oh, that's big. Of course it was.
Yeah.
Kids' college is paid for. I'm going to build a shed with a hammer and a saw from True
and to
value.
put the quantum in. I wanted to build a case so I could put the quantum in it. That's what.
Did you keep using the ball? That's funny. Like, whenever somebody wins the Daytona 500, they usually take the car and put it in their museum down there for a year, and they can't touch the car again. But did you think about retiring that ball, or did you keep on using it?
Oh, no, it got retired. And what had happened was
I never told them where that ball is, by the way.
Yeah. No. Okay. So what happened after that was over is one of the first phone calls I get is from George Randazzo, who's at that time the president of the Italian American Hall of Fame in Chicago, and he tells me, John, I want that ball, And I said, first of all, if my wife wants me to keep the ball in the house, that's where it's going to stay, and if she says no, then the Bowling Hall of Fame would get it. And after that, I said, if those two are not going to take it, then you can have it. And he goes, okay, I'm third. That's. And I said, yeah, that's fine. You're third. So when I got home, I asked Pat. I said, what do you think? And she said, ball doesn't belong in the house just for us to look at. The ball belongs to the bowling public. And so she says, let it go to the Hall of Fame. And I'm not sure what the curator of the Bowling Hall of Fame was thinking at that time, but he really wasn't interested in the bowling ball, and which sort of surprised me. But a few years later, when Parker bowled 300 in the stadium in their tournament, the Masters, they weren't interested in his either. They're building their tournament. I still don't know why.
And this was the 7th ever on TV. On TV, saying, right? And this is beyond historic. It's so rare, and man, oh man, I don't get it. I don't know.
So I called George Randazzo and say, you can have the ball, and he sets up a date for me to come into Chicago, and he puts together a luncheon, and he has the press, radio, and TV, paper come in, and they do a whole presentation turning the ball over to him, covered all over Chicago, and the ball is now in the Italian American Hall of Fame. That's where it is. And that's how it ended up there. So at least we always know where it is. That's a good thing.
He had to be surprised as shit to see the ball, right? I mean, he's thinking he's third. He's never going to get it. But
yeah, he was so excited. And that it was a great thing, because that hall has a lot of special things in there. Like, when you would walk, you would see Michael and Mario Andretti's cars from the Indy 500. They had 11 of Matt Biondi's medals from the Olympics. They have Jake LaMotta's robes. They got Marciano's gloves and shoes. They got those kind of items. And so the bowling ball to them was a really big thing. And
sorry, Dad. Who's in that Hall of Fame? Bruno Sammartino.
Well, I went in with Bruno. Yeah.
I was told, listen, I'm the Petraglia life coach. You think I don't know that? I was told that years ago because of my longstanding in every community that I'm in. But yes, I did know that. I wanted to call it the Guinea Hall of Fame, but I think it's just, for some reason they didn't like that.
The one thing, I went into the Hall of Fame with Bruno Sammartino when I got inducted. And Bruno's about 6 feet 230, okay, and he was also into lifting weights for records. And think about this: his standing press, he pressed 320 pounds over his head, 32 times. Wow. That's it. Just think about it.
And that wasn't the jerk where you jump down.
No. This is standing there and doing a press.
Yeah. The guy coming back down and doing a press. Chested freaking
over 30 times.
Yeah, his chest was huge.
That's one of his records. Yeah. Just amazing how strong he was.
Were you a wrestling fan when you were younger?
Back then, yeah, I was sort of in it, and John was really into it. He had that. One year for Christmas, he was so into it that his mother made a ring so he can have his rubber wrestling figures. He had an arena to put him in. He loved Hulk Hogan. Just this fun.
There was that story about Randy Peterson that now I want to hear. I want to hear the senior version because I think it was touched on. Right?
We're going to get into that. We're going to get all right. We're going to say that for a third. We'll stay there for our third segment. I just want to wrap up this one with a couple of questions, Senior. What did Ray say to you, or what did you say to him when everything was all over and everything had calmed down? Did you obviously you thanked him for the tip, right, for using that ball? But what was your conversation like with him after that?
Well, I just everything that I'm telling you, this would have never happened without you, and I trying to figure out what to give him, give him 10% of what I wanted, or at least some kind of an item that he would always remember. And Ray, in typical Ray fashion, when I said, if you weren't there, if you weren't doing what you did, and Ray's answer was, I drilled the ball. I ran to the locker room to get the ball and give it back to you on the lanes. I helped you line up. He goes, but you threw the ball. He goes, that's the key. He says, I might have given you the bowling ball, but you're the one that did, everything else. And don't ever forget that.
That's cool.
Which is the way that Ray would answer. And just before you cut away, I know a lot of people know this story now, but one of the great things was that as we're coming off the air, the lady at the desk says, line 4 is for you. It's the White House. And I said, no, it isn't. And she said, yes, it is. And I said, no, look, I says, Bill Clinton isn't sitting in the White House watching the bowling show. And before we're hardly off the air calling up, I said, it's just a prank call. And so I said, just, hang up on them. And she said, you're probably right. She goes, but just in case you're not right, I am not hanging up on the president of the United States. So I said, okay, I'll take a call. I'll handle it. So I got on the phone. I said, hi, this is John. And on the other end, the guy on the other end of the phone says, hi, John, my name is Joe Cirillo, and I own the White House Tavern in Chicago. And you don't know me from Adam, but the whole bar is going nuts. And that was one of the greatest things that ever happened. A hell of a lot better than getting a call from Bill Clinton. I know that. It's terrific.
That's fantastic.
It's a rock star moment right there.
That is the perfect way to end the segment. So when we come back, we're going to get into some stories with JP Sr. and Jr., and Ocho's got one that he wants to tell too. So
I don't.
No,
Okay.
no, don't. Come on, Ocho. When we come back, it'll be story time. We'll be right back.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1, go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2, collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3, play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4, unleash your excitement.
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Straight Up 5.
All right, welcome back to Straight Up 5 with our very, very special guest, Johnny Petraglia Sr. We're going to get into some straight shooting here. We're going to talk about some things maybe some people haven't heard before, and maybe the real version of some stories that happen, other than what Ocho says. Here comes some straight shooting.
It's time for Straight Shooting. Johnny Jr. and the boys sit around, tell stories, and hopefully teach everyone some life lessons. Nothing is off limits. They let it all hang out. Get ready for some straight shooting.
All right, so Ocho, you've told the story about how you met Senior in the bar. Didn't know him from Adam. Refresh us, Ocho.
This isn't the point because I'm their life coach. So don't try and downplay this. Like, these people learned so much from me. It's okay. The point was, I wasn't much of a bowler. Now I am, because I learned things fast. But we had gotten our asses kicked one night by this gentleman named John, because that's all you see on the bowling score is actually it just said JOH, because I think only the first 3 freaking letters were up there. He knew that I was one of the best doctors around, and afterwards he asked me a question about his thumb, and I knew he was a lefty because he just kicked our ass, and it was his right thumb. So I know it's his right thumb, and I knew he was a lefty because he just beat the shit out of us literally that evening. This JOH guy. And he's asked me, his thumb's all swelled up, and I'm like, and me being the bowler for 3 years at this point, I'm like, well, hey, maybe you smashed it between two bowling balls without knowing, because most of you bowlers are idiots, I guess. And I don't know shit about shit. And he's like, no, it definitely wasn't that. And now I'm looking, I'm like, oh, shit, it really is. I remember saying, like, did you get bit by a spider or something? Because it's swelling. But then again, it's not really red or anything. He's like, I have no clue. I'm like, all right, tell you what. You just give it a few days and ice it every 20 on, 40 off. And if it was a Wednesday night, Cleaners League. That's the part I remember, of course. I remember everything. And I said, if it's bugging you, then, call me Friday. We'll take an x-ray. We'll see what's going on. Now we stroll into the pub area, and I happen to say, if you quit shoving your thumb up your ass so much, maybe it won't swell that much. And I chuckled, and he chuckled, and the bar falls deathly silent as if I just shot Kennedy. And I'm like, what? What's going on? And I got freaking Glick saying, we don't have to give full names, right?
Whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter.
And he goes, you know who that is? And I was like,
it's John.
J-O-H. Yeah, of course I know who that is. Like, yeah. He's like, no, but do you know who? And they're just grilling me. And I'm like, tells me about the Triple Crown. And I'm like, this dude's 6 feet tall. He don't race horses. Fuck you. There's no way this guy won the Triple Crown. And he's like, there's a bowling Triple Crown. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Give me my freaking BlackBerry and leave me alone. I don't want this shit anymore. He crushed us. We lost, what was it, out of 21 or something those nights? I'm like, we lost 21 fucking points. Let me freaking just pain my misery. I made fun of the guy. It was great. And he laughed, and no one else did. Like, what a freaking shitty joke. And then I come to find out that it's this gentleman here. And there was a conclusion a few months later where, like, I really did feel bad because I didn't fucking know. I'm Dr. Ocho. I got my own shit going on. And we'd always we'd be sitting next to each other, just goofing off, not doing anything much, and just talking to Stephanie, the bartender, and talking to the idiots and whatnot. And I said, hey, by the way, I really do want to apologize. I honestly had no idea who you were. And he's like, no, whatever, man. It was a funny joke. We're good. Like, he's like, we're always next to each other. And I was like, yeah, I just figured you're a glutton for punishment. He goes, no, whenever somebody comes by to talk to me about bowling, you make fun of them so bad that they walk away and they don't bother me about bowling. And I know you're never going to bother me about bowling. So therefore, this is kind of my space that I can just hang out. I was like, well, shit, if I'm doing you the favor, I guess I'm okay with it. So I was like, it's not intentional. It's midnight. I don't want to freaking be bothered. We're just having our freaking belts at the end of bowling. And it turned out to be then I became their life coach. So then all the fun stuff happened.
Is that pretty much how you remember it, Johnny?
Yeah, he was also very loud. He would really get upset when somebody threw a lucky strike. He'd start yelling, "Oh my God!" and a few other expletives, and you could hear him for 30 lanes. And just was it was sort of scary bowling on the same team.
This is to prepare people for when they're under them pressure moments too. Because
I can't even remember how I got on his team. I don't understand how that happened.
I think you won a raffle, is what it was. I think there was like this big raffle about who wanted to bowl with Dr. Ocho, and I think you won, and Tino and Glick happened to be the winners. And I was even saying I was for some reason the second high average by a lot on that team, which should not have been.
Yeah. It was fun. That's what bowling is. It's supposed to be fun.
So of course it was, yes.
So the funniest part to wrap up this story is what your girlfriend said to you maybe a month or two later when you were watching PBA on ABC.
Oh, my ex from years ago. Oh, yeah. No, when I find out who he is, there's classic bowling on ESPN every noon so I got the TiVo going and everything, and there was like a bunch of literally a marathon of the Johnny Petraglia Opens. And it says it right there, the Johnny Petraglia Open. And I was watching these guys, and there's Junior in the background, Senior in the background. And she's like, you really had no fucking clue who he was? Like, come on. And I was like, I just didn't bowl. I know who he is now. I'll be nicer. I promise.
That's an amazing story. I always love when Ocho tells that story. There's another story that I actually want to get Johnny's perspective from. It involves some chips getting smashed. Do you remember that story, Johnny?
About chips getting smashed?
Yeah. Do you need Ocho to set it up?
It was a long time ago.
All right, Ocho, set it up for him. We'll see if he remembers.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah. Just when he crushed all the potato chips on the bar with his fist. Yeah, I just can't remember why he did it. That's
he's an asshole. That's probably why.
So Kenny had these little wise potato chips and said, "Oh, they're for Johnny. He bowled a 300." So I smashed them and said, "Well, now there's 300 little fucking potato chips."
Yeah.
Now again, JP Sr, the pro, no-sells it, opens up the bag and drinks them. Literally drinks the chips like there's no tomorrow. And then he got me back when Steph put out the nacho platter the last night of the year.
Yeah.
So what did you do to him getting back there at the last night of the year?
Just do the same thing, just crush his nachos. That's all.
He came in with the Polish hammer this way. He was doing the Putski hammer out of nowhere. I'm just like, I'm just gonna have a little chips and sauce, and here comes a black. This guy knows karate, by the way, so it ain't like he's coming in with nothing. He's coming in with hammer fists and freaking phenom eminences and whatnot. He knew what he was doing when he was smashing chips.
That's right. That's true. I was starting to get professional on the chips.
Can we make an assumption that Dr. Ocho has destroyed bowling at this point? Can we
pretty much.
At least agree to that. Just for the sake of this show, let's just make sure that we know what the true villain is for the devil.
I mean, you are wearing a lucha mask, so there's that.
They don't know who I am. That's the beauty part.
How many months later did that happen, Ocho? Do you remember?
From what?
From the first time, from the one chip to the other.
Oh,
the one chips was, I think, probably it was cold. So and the one was the last night of the year because the bartender put out the platter. So that's end of May, I guess. So I guess he carried the grudge for a good 3 months.
3 months later, and he called it back. Like, how great is that?
Vietnam vet.
Well, no, you got to plan in advance.
Yeah.
That's all.
And you never saw it coming, did you, Ouch?
We went from watching one of the best 300s ever thrown on television to this, Rob. Is this the host that you wanted to be?
Yes,
really?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is what I really want to get into is the behind the scenes stuff. So your son told us about a story involving you and Earl Anthony. Junior, you want to set that one up?
Yeah, I try and tell this story. We've had shows in the past where we talk about like what makes the greats great. And I had referenced the story about a time that I don't know if you were keeping score or whatever was going on. Earl was not only the only lefty that got a check a certain week, but he qualified like 24th, made it to the ladder, and then lost the second match. And then you had gone into the locker room to tell him what an honor it was to watch what he did that week because you knew how tough they were. And he, was basically so in his own brain at that moment that he was a little nasty in his response, as if to say,
what had happened. Actually, he didn't make the show. But what he did was he made the finals, top 24, and no other lefty got within 50 pins of a check. And we were staying at Gary Mage's house, both of us, and after it was over, after the tournament was over, Earl finished, I don't know, maybe in the middle of the pack, 12th, 13th, somewhere around there, which was tremendous. Yeah, nobody could even get close to a check. And we were having a late barbecue in the backyard at Gary's house, and I was congratulating Earl on what a tremendous week he had. And he said, "This week sucked." And I said, "Earl," I said, you made match play. You made the finals where nobody on the left got even a smell of a check. I know how tough they were out there on the left side, and you bowled great." And he actually grabbed my arm and said, "Listen to me." He goes, "Second is a bad week, period." And he said, "Second's a bad week, Earl?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, are you ever happy?" He goes, "If I win, I'm satisfied. If I'm second, I'm unhappy." And that was his competitive nature. And obviously that's what made him so great, but also at the same time, that's what, I'm a lot happier person than he was, right, I think, because winning was such a
It was so hard to win, basically.
That nothing could beat that. The memories of winning really outweigh the memories of losing by a mile.
Right.
So,
he and yourself were my bowling heroes growing up. So I'm a lefty myself, so I always gravitated to left-handed bowlers. But I also loved guys like Amuleto, Mark Roth, Walter Ray, Voss, Albee. Those are my formative years growing up as bowlers, watching the PBA and ABC for all those years, listening to Bo and Chris call the games like nobody else. I mean, they were really the best team that you'll ever see. How special was it when they wanted to name, tournaments after you, like the Johnny Petraglia Open? I mean, it had to be a big honor for you.
Oh, tremendous. That was very, very special. And well, I guess, I don't know, I guess, did John tell you the story about when we were talking about wrestling?
Yes, yeah.
About when he was a kid,
Yeah.
I don't know, 7, 8 years old, maybe. And so have you told this story on your podcast, John?
We want to
talking about Randy?
Talking about Randy and Columbia,
yeah. I think I've definitely told that story, and
it was actually
the
our
whole
pilot.
bowling world knows that story.
Yeah,
But it was our pilot episode that really wasn't part of this show. So if you want to recash it, then we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
As far as the naming the tournament after me, it's a wonderful honor. And when we would have the celebrity pro-ams, all the pros that we were able to get from other sports, John Bull and Jerome Bettis, that was that was
fantastic bowler, by the way.
Yeah, Jerome's a terrific bowler.
Really
he did great. But I guess it needs a little bit of mentioning when in the story where Ron Palumbi and Randy Peterson were staying at the house, and the three of them were wrestling in John's room, and about that time, one of them picked him up and body slammed them on the bed, and they broke the bed. The bed collapsed, and here they are trying to put the bed back together. And my wife Pat, she had called everybody down to dinner, and they're still trying to put the bed together. And come on now, come downstairs, and so now they're all coming down the stairs, and as they were getting into by the kitchen there, they were essentially lined up, and Pat says, when I call you the first time, I don't want to have to call you twice. And then she looked at Randy and she says, and you're older, you're supposed to know better. That's the best part.
So what had actually happened is,
and he says, "I'm sorry, Pat."
So what had actually happened is he did a Macho Man elbow onto your kid, and that's how the bed got broken.
Yeah, he drops the elbow, the bed splits. Randy looks me in the eye, this close, and he goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm laughing my ass off. I go, "I'm perfect." He runs out of the room like he has diarrhea, and he's halfway to the stairs yelling, "Pat, Palumbi broke your son's bed."
So he sold the other guy out?
He did.
Yeah, fast. It was awesome.
That's a great
Knowing
story.
already he'd be in trouble since you if you miss dinner call once,
right?
You're already in trouble. Like he's a glutton for punishment then at that point.
So what did your wife say when she found out that Randy broke the bed?
Who paid for the bed?
No, we did. It was okay. If we're gonna put my wife in here, I'll tell one quick story about her.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Mom stories are the best, by the way. In case
this is just a little one that when we first went on tour, when it was our first year, and we had this band, and we're leaving LA on our way to Vegas, so we're going across the Mojave Desert. And Pat always had a cute way of telling a joke. And she's looking out the window. After about 100 miles, she looks at me and she says, "It's a very disappointing desert, John." And I said, "Well, what'd you expect to see?" She goes, "I don't know, sand dunes and occasional camel." That was priceless. Something I'll never forget.
That is a great story.
Oh, Dr. Ocho liked that one.
He did.
Yeah, because it's a little bit of the absurdity of it, which just makes the joke. That's what's great about it.
So we mentioned the movie Greedy off air. How did you get involved in that project originally?
The movie, Brunswick got contracted to supply all the bowling balls, the lanes, and teaching Michael J. Fox how to bowl. And so it started with the difficulty that became with Michael was a terrific, very competitive guy, very, very down-to-earth, normal person. And he wanted to become a pretty good bowler. The director said, forget about Michael becoming a good bowler. Just make him look like a good bowler. So he was more interested in make sure his form looks like a bowler. I don't care where the ball goes. We're going to use split screens. But Michael said, but now I want to bowl better, and he worked very, very hard at it. And, when you look back, it was about 2 months in New Jersey and then the rest of the time in California when they were filming the movie. And there was one particular time where Michael had to throw a strike. And when he throws the strike, he has to go like this and make believe that he had a gun down there. And when all the pins go down, go.
Yeah.
And the lanes were really getting tough. And the crowd is supposed to be cheering and screaming on every shot. And I guess he threw about 30 shots and never struck. And now it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And he threw a shot and he finally did strike because this wasn't going to be a split screen. They wanted to shoot it from the back and then they would turn it and shoot it from the front. And he got so excited that he didn't do what he was supposed to do. And then, he just started clapping his hands and he was so happy. And then the director says, no, nice shot, Michael, but that's not what we want. We want you to stand there like you had a gun and go like this. And so he goes, we'll have to cut and do it again tomorrow morning. And he said, no, we're not leaving. I don't care how long it takes. I'm not going to get up and start this all over again. Wow. I'll buy you a Mercedes if I have to, but we're going to get this done tonight. And in the next 5 shots he did. He threw a strike and held his composure, stayed at the foul line, and blew like he was firing a gun. It's
Meanwhile,
when
you watch the movie, the shot that he actually points the gun is not shot from the back.
Right. Yeah.
It's a light hit 2-pin.
Yeah, they changed
so
that.
They could have spliced it in anyway.
Right.
Anyway.
They could splice it in, any way they wanted. And
wow.
There was a few things like that they should have done that, but they're not bowlers. That's Hollywood,
Right.
You said when they set up the temporary lanes in the hotel in LA, that was like Michael's best day ever on the lanes. And in that segment of the movie, you actually see him throw what Michael J. Fox strikes look like.
Yeah, that was where they went to the Ambassador Hotel had closed, and this was supposed to look like Kirk Douglas's basement, where he's got his pair of lanes in his private house. So they took the lobby and they built walls around it, and Brunswick put in a pair of lanes to make it look that way, and then they put in French doors to the right and had giant floodlights to make it look like that was outside where the jacuzzi was, and so that it looked like somebody's house. It was this what they do with it. And Michael really was sharp that day. He made some good shots that day, and all the strikes that were thrown by him. He did a good job.
We got to peel back the curtain a little bit more here, because you're saying New Jersey and LA, and as a Petraglia life coach, I know that you drive everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's not like you just get in the car and, go to freaking Long Island for the weekend from Jersey for a 2.5 hour drive. You're driving across the country, and you were still on tour around this point too.
Yeah. Yeah, well, but I had some time because they were done with that location, and the next location that was going to be coming up was going to start in about a week. So I had time to drive cross country. And
why wouldn't they bus you then? If you're in the freaking program, they should freaking have a freaking.
Because I had to pick up the tour. We were headed out west anyway.
So you're literally going back to work?
Going back to work. Yeah.
So
and everything that nothing but good memories about the movie. that it was a lot of fun seeing the make-believe world, I guess would be the best way to put it. The thing, one of the coolest things they did was Olivia Dabo was the woman in the movie that is supposed to be Kirk Douglas's girlfriend, I guess you could say. And so there's a scene where Michael's supposed to be in his basement practicing, and there's a jacuzzi there. And that what they do is the stars aren't out there getting all the locations set up and everything. Olivia Dabo has a double dressed in the same bikini, blonde hair, built like her. And she gets in the jacuzzi and gets out of the jacuzzi and gets on the steps. And they have somebody, Michael, doing the same thing until everything is set up the way that they want it. And then they call the stars out of their trailer. And so now Olivia Dabo gets in the jacuzzi, and her and Michael are going to get into an argument. That's how this works out. And she gets out of the jacuzzi, and they start doing the scene, and somebody blows their lines or the lighting isn't right or whatever, and they say, cut, take two. And she doesn't have to get back into the jacuzzi. They're happy with that part of it, of the way that she got out and she hit her marks. She doesn't have to do that again. But they have to do the scene where they're talking again. And so after 3 or 4 takes, I noticed that there's these 2 women with these little bottles standing on either side of them just off camera. And then before they start the next shot, he says, hold it. And he says, 2 women run in and they start spraying Olivia Dabo with these water bottles because she supposedly just got out of the jacuzzi and now she's drying up, and they have to spray them, and then they jump back off camera, and then he says action. And when you watch the movie, the scene comes out perfect, and it's you could swear that they're outside. You could swear that she just stepped out of that jacuzzi, started talking, and she wasn't drying off. I mean, it's Hollywood's a different place.
Yeah.
What you see in something not really see it.
It really is fake world there. Wow, and the detail has to be. Oh my God, that's a great point.
And the people that I think should get a lot more credit than they do are the grips, because if the director wants something, you have to do it instantaneously. Like, and that one scene, he wants a light in a spot, and the grips immediately built an 8-foot high frame so that they can hook a light up to it at the top of it. They got it done in 5 minutes. They're coming there with hammers, saws, banging it together, sticking up there. Where's the light? How do you want it set up?
It probably got them from Ace True Value Hardware too. Since it was 1994.
That's right. They really know their craft. That's
that is pretty wild. So they're building little friggin' hutches for people.
They could do anything that whatever the director wanted, they're able to do it instantaneously. They know what's coming, and would get it done.
That's so cool. So that's cool that you got to see the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, the behind the scenes stuff was great to watch. Yeah.
Now, if I remember right, Junior, did Michael throw a teal Rhino Pro? It's been a long time since I watched the movie. Is that what he was throwing?
Yeah, he's throwing a Rhino Pro.
It was like 12 pounds, right, Dad?
Yeah, teal Rhino Pro, 12-pound conventional grip, because he had never done it before. His wrist was really starting to get sore, and then, I had and patch up his fingers and thumb all the time because he's so used to not bowling,
right?
And so he would start to rip, and at that time. The protective skin wasn't made yet. It was if you were getting a blister or something, it was only new skin. So I'd have to patch him all the time, and his wrist was really starting to hurt him. So he got through it. He did good. And when you chalk up the years of when it happened, you also realize that was probably the beginning of his. Not
Parkinson's or something. Is that what
yeah, and that he was probably having a couple of problems with that, and got through it, without knowing. He did really well.
That's really cool.
Real good person.
Junior told a great story about just how cool it was to be sitting there and, Michael J. Fox is at my house and we're playing Nintendo together.
They became friends. They were having a good old time, Just
taking Carla to the bowling. Remember Carla taking her to the bowling alley wearing that shirt?
Yeah, that's right. You took Carla to the lanes. Yeah, they were seventh heaven.
Yeah, it was some pretty. And what's ironic is the movie. The production of the movie, Michael was at the Johnny Petraglia Open, which was the week after the televised 300.
The week after the show, yeah.
So you want to talk about a warm welcome, just to add to everything else that was that week home. Michael was there too for that.
He was there too. Yeah, it couldn't have been more perfect. It was just like all of the cards fell right into place.
Yeah, the universe just lined up for that.
It lined up just for that. The stars aligned. They got together.
My only issue was I never got to meet Olivia Diabo, and that's what I really wanted.
She was hot.
I think I'd still be with her if she met me.
Junior is such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the sport of bowling, and I can obviously see where he gets it from. He gets it from you, Johnny. But the kid's like an encyclopedia when it comes to bowling. He literally remembered what segment was one of the Johnny Petraglia Opens where you told kind of your life story in a quick little video. You talked about Vietnam and your dad and all that. But Johnny, for our listeners, I'm going to put you on the spot. What show was that, and what part of the show did it take place?
1990 Johnny Petraglia Open. Bob Benoit bowls 275 against Amleto's 244. No, it wasn't Amleto. It was Norm Duke throwing a Cobra. 275, 244. And they cut away to the commercial break, and before the semifinal match against Charlie Tapp, they played that segment.
They played that video, where we had filmed the video.
Mm-hmm. And you got quite emotional during that video, too.
Yeah, I get emotional all the time about that, about the vets and stuff, and what everybody's gone through. And
Jamie was what?
Jamie was born that September.
This is the 91 JP Open. So, there's she was 6 or 7 months old, maybe?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
It's amazing what that kid remembers. It's almost like Ocho with Steelers scores. That's how Johnny Jr. is with
opening
bowling.
week in 91. The Steelers beat the Chargers 26-20. So somebody fact check it. I don't care. I got it right. Neil O'Donnell went 1 of 4 for 90 yards with a 90-yard touchdown pass. Because Bubby had a concussion and he threw a 90-yard touchdown pass to Dwight Stone on a screen. Not like I remember.
Yeah.
Well, Johnny Sr., it's always good to have you here. It was a pleasure talking to you. We'll have to get you back on here sometime. I know you have a lot more stories that you could tell, but I really do appreciate you coming on here. Like I said, this has been like a bucket list thing of mine to be able to talk to you. Growing up watching you over the years, I mean, I just it might be kind of corny, but thank you for entertaining me for so many years. On TV, I was just a big bowling mark. So thanks for all the years of entertainment.
Well, Rob, thank you for having me. And, Ocho, it's good seeing you again. And
26-20.
I can't read that.
It's 26. I'm just fact checking.
Steelers, 1991.
Yeah. And, okay.
Thanks, Ocho.
My son.
I'm appreciative to be everyone's life coach here, and I'm glad you guys use the principles that I applied to you, and I hope everybody else does. And we all learn from each other, and that's the beauty of this thing. And now, go ahead, you finish your thing. But as I love being humble.
All right. I'll just finish with my son. I love you, man. Take care. That's it. And he gets up and runs away.
Ran away.
That's what he does. No, he always does that. Ocho.
It's like it's my thing.
Ocho, where can we find you?
I'm glad you were here tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Ocho, where can we find you on Twitter?
Okay.
Where can you find? Actually, you know what I screwed up? It's an 89 yard pass from Neil O'Donnell. I kind of screwed up by a yard. So.
Oh my God, you made a mistake.
I was off by a yard, but he went 1 of 4 for 89 yards. Where am I on Twitter, Rob? Help me out here, buddy. Thank you for doing this.
At the Dr. Ocho. You can find Johnny Jr. on Facebook. Just look up Johnny Petraglia. See, he stole his dad's name. He didn't put the Jr. on it because his dad doesn't want to get on Facebook.
All right.
Was there a reason why you don't want to get on Facebook? I mean, your millions of fans would like to interact with you.
there's a lot of reasons, which I really don't want to go into.
That's fair. That's fair.
I ruined it for him.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly right. Guys, hope you appreciate this episode with the one and only Johnny Petraglia Sr. and Jr. and, the Ocho. We'll be back for next week for another edition of Straight Up 5. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Thanks for listening to Straight Up 5. If you would like to send your questions into Johnny Jr., send us an email at straightup5@gmail.com. That's straight up FIVE@gmail.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Straight Up 5 right here on the Rad Rob Radio Network.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.